My fellow colleagues in cybersecurity, I want to thank you for giving me some time to share with you my views on the state of essentially the union in cybersecurity. So sort of this global community that we're all part of. I want to share what I believe is the state. And I think to summarize, the word that comes to mind is uncertain. I would say that the state of our cybersecurity community right now is uncertain. I want to share with you 5 areas where that uncertainty comes out. I think we can be very hopeful in each area. When things are uncertain, they can go in a number of different ways. And I want to share with you where I hope they go, but I also want to share with you where I think we are today. So first off, the state of the Chief Information Security Officer position, that role, right now is uncertain. And here's the reason. I think too many CISOs right now forget that they are executives. They need to behave like executives. They need to be prepared to run their organization as executives. And generally, anybody who's had some experience as an executive recognizes that means a business focus, it means a well-rounded background, it means shaping your opinions based on a collage of different factors around the business rather than the things that are kind of comfort zone to a security team like firewalls and intrusion detection systems and SIMs and architecture and hacking, those types of things. So certainly those are the tools of our trade specifically, just like financial statements might be the tools of the trade for a CFO. But a CFO stepping into that CEO role will have to have an understanding of sales and marketing and business ops and so on. So CISOs need to recognize that they are executives and need to start behaving like executives. Learn to deal with boards, deal with executives, deal with their peers. I'm hopeful that kind of the uncertainty around that position will improve in 2019. I try to do everything I can each day to make that situation better. So that's certainly number one. The second uncertainty right now is in government. And I think it's primarily in the United States, but it's a global issue. The uncertainty is that for whatever reason, we don't have the expertise that we need, certainly in the United States, civilian government, for example. There's a problem where any individual working in civilian government in cyber probably quit their job tomorrow and go 10x on their salary into a commercial position. Like if you're a forest ranger somewhere, you love being a forest ranger and you work for the national parks, you can't go 10x up on your salary quitting government to go sort of into the commercial park ranger business. It doesn't work that way. In almost every job that you can think of, certainly in civilian government, even in military, you're not going to have that kind of phenomenon. But in cybersecurity, we do. So we lose a lot of executives there. On the low end, the problem is young people coming out of school are not attracted to go to what would appear to be a mundane job. I don't think they are. I think there's no greater calling than protecting civilian or government assets or state and local assets from cyber attacks. So I've argued and I've pleaded with the Trump administration in letters and in even face-to-faces that I believe we should be revitalizing the cyber core kind of concept in our government and across the whole world, where young people are provided tuition reimbursement in return for service in cybersecurity in the civilian agencies. Now here at Tag Cyber, we do a little bit of that. We have a program where we're trying to train young people. There's only so much I can do. We need to do it at the national level. So again, very uncertain the way we handle cybersecurity in government, and I'm hopeful that it will get better. Now, a third area of uncertainty in our cybersecurity community has to do with our marketplaces, the way we buy things. And I believe we need to be more virtual. Here's the reason. When you're under attack or when there's some stress on your organization from a defensive perspective and you want to bolster your defense, what do? How do you go buy new equipment, new products, new services and put them in real time? The answer is you can't. That uncertainty, that inability to do dynamic real-time defense is a real problem in our industry, and we're at the cusp right now of virtual marketplaces where I can go on demand and click to buy certain types of virtual appliances, virtual protections, software that can help protect infrastructure in real time. So I'm hopeful that as we go into 2019, vendors and buyers will agree that a much preferred approach to buying equipment, to installing and integrating new capabilities, new functional features into your defensive architecture will be virtual, not tangible, physical kind of processes where you fill out a form, you wait by the loading dock, you unload the equipment, you put it in the data center, you test it. Weeks, months can pass, and how ridiculous is that in the context of a dynamic defense? It makes no sense. So I'm hopeful that in 2019, we'll see a change, a shift toward more virtual marketplaces. So that's kind of the third area of uncertainty. A fourth has to do with industry analysis. And a lot of you have heard me and a lot of my colleagues complain that pay-for-play industry analysis harms our entire community. When you rig these quadrants and you say, look, these guys up here in this part of the quadrant are the best, a lot of people believe that that's based on some reasonable criteria. We all know that that's based on pay, how much you've paid to get to that quadrant. Look, I have no beef with analysts making a living. I'm all for that. But I think we need to rethink that. I think if any of you right now are relying on quadrants or waves or whatever to determine who the right vendors are, you're doing it wrong. The only way to do industry analysis is to learn, to inform, to make you better at judging and determining what's right for your architecture, for your company. There are no shortcuts. So if you're using these pay-for-play crib sheets, you're doing it wrong. And I'm very hopeful that the uncertainty around industry analysis will kind of become clearer in 2019. And again, that's something I spend every single day of 7 days a week, every waking moment. It's what I focus on. It's what we focus on at TAG Cyber. Now the fifth kind of area of uncertainty has to do with architecture. Now here's the issue. We all know perimeters don't work, and yet 9 out of 10 of you watching me right now maybe speak a good kind of talk around deperimeterization, but when you get back to work, you still got a big DMZ and a big perimeter wrapped around your enterprise. That is not acceptable. It doesn't work. It's time now to adopt zero trust architecture, which is a term that was coined by Forrester. I think is a concept that's been around for a while. I've been writing about it for 10 or 15 years. But the idea is that instead of having this DMZ or a perimeter or a gateway with multiple checkpoints through which you enter an enterprise and everything else is blocked, that doesn't work. We all know that concept of a big sort of perimeter around enterprise. We've all known that doesn't work. So what you need instead is the concept that devices and entities and users can be anywhere. And they want to hit assets that live in public, private, hybrid cloud, wherever, even in the enterprise. And the way you do that is by establishing protocols and tools that take a secure device across secure transport to a well-protected hosted application. And that application should be segmented from others so that you don't have east-west lateral cascading of the type that we see with advanced persistent threats. That's a great architecture. If you're telling that to an adversary, they freak out. They know that if you do that, they're not going to be able to bring you down anywhere near as easily as we've seen the last 10 years. So look, this fifth area of uncertainty is around architecture. So I hope you'll keep these 5 areas. CISOs becoming more like executives, government rekindling the expertise that they need to protect our infrastructure, marketplaces becoming more virtual, more dynamic, cybersecurity industry analysis stepping away for pay-for-play, focusing on educating and informing, and finally, architectures moving more towards zero trust. These are the things that I believe will lead us from a situation right now of great uncertainty to something that I think can be really wonderful, where we enable the next wave of innovation, where we bring on new types of capabilities that make our whole world, the whole society better. That's why we do cybersecurity. We won't do it to say no. We do it to say yes, to enable. So I hope these remarks have been useful for you. I hope that my tone here is hopeful. You know, I started by saying things were uncertain, but uncertainty can lead to some very good things. So take a look at your own situation and see if you can improve in these 5 areas. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great 2019.